Alright, so I'm going to help you guys out with 2.4. There's three isometrics. The first of which is this metric cube that you see here in my lower left hand corner. So the first thing you should do is get into your project with your data panel open, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a folder, and I'm going to call it 2.4. And that way I have things organized and I don't have too many files just kind of sitting, kind of like your Google Drive where it's just all messed up. I want to keep my stuff organized. So I made a folder, call it 2.4, I'm going to open it up, and then this is where I'm going to save everything. So now that this folder is open, and I've got a design over here, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Save button, and now you'll see it's pointing in my IED folder, 2.4, and now I'm going to call it maybe just Isometric 1. Okay, I'm going to hit Save. Now I can close my data panel. Now before I get started, you'll notice this is in metric, it's in centimeters. So I need to change under my document settings. If I open this little arrow, you'll notice right now I'm in inches. I need to click on this little piece of paper, and I need to come over here and I need to change it to centimeters. So every number I type in on my keyboard corresponds to centimeters and not inches or millimeters. So I'm going to hit OK. So now I'm ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a sketch, and it's always a really good habit to pick this front drawing plane. Now on some iPads I've noticed that you don't see the isometric view like I see right here. So while you're in the middle of start sketch mode, you can always left click and hold on the view cube, and you can always tilt your world. So let's just say I clicked start sketch and I was looking at it straight on. If I left click and hold, I can always zoom and orbit just to see it at an angle, so that the X and Y, which is the green and the red, I want that flat plane right there to click on to draw. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a 2-point rectangle. I'm going to click first at my origin, which is right here, and I'm going to drag up, and then another click. You'll notice that my rectangle is still selected, so if I right click with my mouse, you'll notice that I've got all these menus here and I can click OK. Now my rectangle is no longer selected. Now I can create a dimension. So a shortcut for that on your keyboard, if you just press the letter D, now I can go ahead and I can dimension by clicking a vertical line and then clicking next to it. Now you'll see I'm drawing in centimeters. This is 5 centimeters tall, so I'm going to press 5 and press enter. Now because I pressed D, I'm still in dimension mode. Now the iPad screen is small, so if I drop this menu down, you can't see that it's still selected, but it is. So I'm going to click on that horizontal line of the rectangle and then click below it, and you'll see those numbers appear. And the overall width, you can see, is 3.5 centimeters. Alright, so now I have the front overall height and width. I'm going to finish my sketch. Now I'm going to extrude it. Now, what if I made a mistake? And I think this is where I kind of don't go over my videos well enough. If I jump out of the sketch and I make a mistake, I can always go back. So over here in my browser, underneath where it says the word browser, if I click this little arrow next to sketches, you'll see that there's my sketch. If I wanted to go back and fix it, I could always double click on that sketch. Really quickly double click. There we go. And it'll open back up and I can go back in and change. Like let's say I wanted this to be 6 or 4 instead of 5, or I made a mistake. I can double click and I can edit that to 6 or whatever I wanted it to be. But I was correct initially with 5. So there you go. Enter. Alright, so just to let you know, you can always go back into that sketch. I'm going to go back to finish sketch. Now I'm going to extrude it. So click extrude. Now we're going to push that arrow with a left click and hold and drag. Let go. Now it's going back I kind of randomly did that, so it's going back -6. I'm going to look at my drawing, it's supposed to go back 2. So I'm going to change that to -2. It really doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, it depends on which direction you want it to go. For this one, I really don't care. In Sim, our next class, it does matter because we start to machine things, but for this one, we don't care which direction it goes. So there's my overall block. Get used to these zoom buttons down here. I can click on this little magnifying glass with an arrow and left click hold and zoom in, zoom out. I can click on the hand and I can pan. And you can always right click and hit OK to get out of the current command that you have selected. All right, now let's cut out the front of the little ledge, if you will. So we're going to hit Sketch, and we're going to pick the front face. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan with the hand and just center it a little better. Right click, OK. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to draw a line. Now watch where I snap. I'm going to drag this, this selection from my line onto the edge of the part so that, hang on, I have my sketch grid on. That's from a different class. Anyway, I'm going to drag my, my line so that the X appears, not that little triangle, because I don't want to snap to the middle of this edge. I want to just snap so that it's locked to the edge, but not to the midsection of the edge. So somewhere up here, and I'm going to drag perfectly horizontal, click, drag perfectly 90 degrees down, and click, and then perfectly 90 degrees until it touches this edge and click. So now I've got like a zigzag line. Right click, OK. All right, now I've got that shape. Now let's dimension it. So D on the keyboard. Now I can click on this line and click above, and that is 1 centimeter. How do I know it's 1 centimeter? Because I'm looking at the object here. 3.5 minus 2.5, simple math tells me that that should be 1. All right, let's type in 1, enter. Notice how that line turned black because it's constrained. Now, how tall should that, how tall should this line be off of the bottom? You can see over here that 2 centimeters plus 1 centimeter gives me 3. So I'm going to click this edge, and then I'm going to come down here and click this edge, and then if I hover in between and click, I got a distance that I can place in between, which I'll type in 3. All right. Now there's only one other line here that's blue, and apparently I need to tell it how tall off the bottom it needs to be, and I can see from my drawing that 2 centimeters is what I want. So click on this line, and then this line, click, and I'm going to type in 2, enter. So everything's black and solid. Now if you make any mistakes, just undo, 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 and try again. It's okay, you just got to get used to the clickiness of the dimensioning. I'm going to finish my sketch, and now I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to pick not this, but this, because I'm going to be cutting it. So I'm going to cut that. So click, left click, hold, and drag it in. Now you can drag it until it says -1, or just physically type in -1 to make sure, and press OK. And now we have our block. Make sure you hit save, and that is your first ISO completed. Not bad.